Could the next round of college football realignment actually involve teams leaving mega conferences instead of joining them? Let's bring in the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC squad. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
Shout out to the everydayers and welcome into the ACC squad. On this episode, is Virginia Tech the biggest boom or bust team in ACC football this coming season? And should top brands, whether you're talking ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, maybe even SEC, should they be looking to break away from their mega conferences instead of seeing these conferences get bigger? Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y cake flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. I'm Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. We got Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. We got Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles with us. This is the ACC squad. So, pretty compelling topic that was brought up this week by ESPN writer Dan Wetzel. Now, let me note, he is not advocating for this to happen. He was simply bringing up the possibility, okay? Like, I know Dan was not promoting this happening, but, you know, he mentioned that you take, for example, what we refer to as the game between Michigan and Ohio State every year. The game allegedly generates about $200 million, just that one game in TV revenue, $200 million. So the hypothetical that Dan Wetzel brought up was, hey, what if Michigan and Ohio State and maybe Penn State, who's also a big revenue generator for the Big Ten, what if they decide, hey, you know what, if I'm Michigan and Ohio State and that one game generates $200 million, we could be splitting that revenue evenly, $100 million apiece as independents, versus the Big Ten with their 18 schools pays out a total of about $78 million of TV revenue to each school every season, where Michigan and Ohio State, if they go independent, could essentially make more money than that just from that one game. So you have to wonder, guys, and of course this topic has come up in the ACC as well with the big brands that carry the rest of the conference. Smitty, I'll let you buy the first round on this one. Could the next round of conference realignment actually be de-alignment?
I think it would be difficult for a number of reasons, but it's a fascinating topic. Number one, Title IX would be kind of awkward with that because
you might have to get rid of Title IX, and I'm not advocating for that, but that would be the
Dono
workaround.
said it. Dono
Don't
said
cancel
it.
us. Do not cancel the rest of us. It was only Alex Dono.
Oh no!
Look, you can maybe do something in football, but you got 20 plus other sports at Michigan or Ohio State, etc.
Yeah.
Those Olympic sports, how many coaches are going to stick around if they don't have a conference? Because the Big Ten ain't going to want Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State unless football is involved. So all that other stuff gets void. Where are the women's sports at? Are you going to be able to?
I think Wetzel said, hey, maybe like they join the MAC or something for the other sports.
I'll let Dono make the phone call to the women's coaches that they're joining the MAC. We'll see how that goes, and Dono can report back to us. That's not going to go well. It would be awkward. I mean, Kenton, if you want to jump in, but go ahead.
We're going from Ann Arbor to Sacramento State for a women's basketball game on Tuesday. This is a conference game, so be on your A game, ladies. No, but in all seriousness, I had not considered that standpoint of the kind of de-alignment being the new realignment. But I will say this. If we look at it from a standpoint of how this could feasibly work, we have seen with a lot of other schools and a lot of other sports, hypothetically, the Big Ten does not agree to that with Ohio State and Michigan. But in reality, if it really gets down to it, right, and we see Ohio State and Michigan be the first two to push for it, and then we see that come out of Oregon and USC as well, USC and UCLA are tied together. So now you've got another team in there. So it's like, okay, well, who's your big dog to demand that we stay in every sport? You know, who's your big dog to demand, like, hey, y'all going about your way, figure it out. as your own little selves, and we'll go from there. And ultimately, if you're not willing to give that deal to them, I mean, like yes, it would suck to have to figure it out for all those other sports. Yes, the legal fees would be in the millions of dollars, absolutely. But if enough people get a dumb idea in their head and enough people start to think that a dumb idea is smart, all of a sudden, I think it's feasible. I think we can make it happen despite the collateral fallout. So if that number gets big enough, it is possible to see. And I would imagine they'd say, we want a Notre Dame deal. Give us just football. We keep football. Y'all get everything else. And we'll make a deal. We're not part of the Big Ten, but we'll play 6 or 7 Big Ten games a year.
Well, honestly, guys, what I see happening in the Big Ten is something that the ACC has already done. And I'll give credit where credit is due. And I don't always, just because this is locked on ACC doesn't mean I give them credit for most anything. But I think the uneven revenue split of the ACC might be what the Big Ten ends up doing. Because if you're involved in Big Ten athletics, you've probably asked the question, wait, how come Ohio State and Oregon make the exact same revenue split as Northwestern and Rutgers? Like, in what world does that make sense? In the ACC, if you ask the question, well, how does Miami and Boston College make the same revenue split? They don't, not anymore, because the ACC incentivizes success on the field. If you make a deep playoff run, you get to keep the money you earn in the playoffs. You don't have to split that with Boston College. And they also, we talk about the game generating $200 million of revenue. The ACC gives more money to the teams that produce higher TV ratings. So, and I know not everybody is on board with the uneven revenue splits, but I think in today's day and age where there's such a wide gap between the haves and the have-nots, I think the way the ACC does it actually makes sense, and I think the Big Ten is going to get to that eventually.
That would be interesting. I haven't heard much about it because the Big Ten right now, for those that don't know, gives out the most, even more than the SEC, to its members.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares. Like the ACC just doesn't pay as much. What's cut to the chase.
Right. And that's why they were kind of forced into an uneven revenue split. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they had to get down that road because of 2036. Am I correct on that, Dono? That's the grant of rights. Yeah, that's rough. So hopefully they continue to do the right thing. It was a nice amicable agreement on the, who gets the most people to view and all that. But, like Miami, they got all the money for the playoff, right? That was part of the agreement. That's
the whole enchilada.
Hey, they earned it. They're the one who went to the playoff. They deserve it. So as long as you do that, I think the ACC is a little more viable for a while. So good for them.
I look at the uneven revenue distribution model and I say to myself, I think that would lead to a similar situation in terms of, not similar to the ACC, a similar situation to the realignment being de-alignment, because I think that there will be a lot of teams that are like, well, wait, why would I wait around for that? Why would I sit here and say, knowing that I'm a team that is not drawing as much of a draw, why would I sit around and wait for this team to make more than us? Because like you said, that one game generates $100 million. And I'm, like you said, at Northwestern, that I know no game or no chunk of the season, you could name the 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks of games and it's not generating that. Why would I sit around and wait for that to be uneven? I think that does raise a very interesting point. But I mean, I struggle to imagine that a lot of these Big Ten teams would accept that, especially because some of them are already drowning financially, right? You've got a Rutgers already in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And the thing is, how many teams in the Big Ten are close to that if they're not already there? Because this NIL is not, the revenue share is not going to make it easier to kind of get out of that situation. So I'd be interested to see how this all plays out. But like Dono said, credit where credit is due. Credit to Jim Phillips and company for, I've said all along, the grant of rights was a hell of a deal for the ACC. Even though we took a bad revenue cut from ESPN, it was a great deal to keep the band together, as opposed to what we will be seeing from some of these conferences in a couple of years.
I mean, I'm still personally a fan of the Super League idea, but we could talk about why that won't happen anytime soon. Plus, is Virginia Tech the team that has the biggest boom or bust potential in the ACC in 2026? You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Folks, we're also proudly brought to you by FanDuel. You ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Now, not only can you pick cash, can your pick cash in, I should say, but it also can send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future to get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making the Locked On ACC squad your first listen. And if you're an everydayer to any of our shows, you want to make your status official by joining the Everydayer Club. You click the link in the show notes below. Whether you want to be an everydayer of Locked On Canes, Locked On Seminoles, Locked On Wolfpack, Locked On ACC, or all the above, you can join the Everydayer Club, get exclusive ad-free versions of our episodes, Discord chat access, other exclusive perks. Check out the Everydayer Club, lockedonpodcast.supercast.com. So, all right, fellas, I was having a conversation on an episode coming out today, or came out today, with Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football, and it was centered around, Virginia Tech with James Franklin and a lot of his former Penn State players like Ethan Grunkmeyer at quarterback joining him there, and the boom or bust potential for Virginia Tech. Now, Brian, I'll go to you first on this one because Kenton and I did have this conversation once already. For as much as I think Virginia Tech is going to be a much bigger player in the ACC in the coming years with James Franklin and his recruiting prowess and just running a more professional operation than what Brent Pry was running, I'm not sure if year one is the year that they break through, because I'm looking at Virginia Tech's schedule, and certain schools in the ACC like Miami got an easier draw with the conference schedule. Virginia Tech, now their non-conference is not that crazy. They've got VMI, Old Dominion, and at Maryland non-con. Like they can go 2-1, 3-0 in those games possibly. But among their conference games, Brian, they've got to go on the road to Cal against JKS, and the ACC will probably make that a 10:30 p.m. game out there. But that's not even the toughest one. They have to go to Clemson, to SMU, and to Miami. These are all on the road in the same season. So, yeah, I'm not so sure if James Franklin is doing better than like 7-5 the first season there.
I don't think they'll have the continuity, nor will they have the linemen. When you rebuild a roster, Kenton can talk about this. Year one is rough in the trenches usually, and it takes, especially offensive line, it takes longer to get congruent. I need to see it because I tried to watch Virginia Tech last year. Keyword tried. That was not a good time. That's time in my brain and space in my brain that has been wasted. I think it'll be year two, and they, Grunkmeyer and some of the guys they brought in, they're really good. I think it was 40 players they brought in. It was crazy. So that's a lot. They might beat a few teams, but here's my guess: they will be a roller coaster. 1 week, they'll catch somebody. They'll beat 1 or 2 teams they probably shouldn't. But does anybody here want to bet against the following notion? They'll lose a home game to somebody they're favored by 10 or more. I bet you next year that's a possibility. Year one is just weird.
In the first 6 games, that'll happen for sure. Because I think that, with all due respect to James Franklin, I think he'll be just fine there. I think he'll do great. I think he's an excellent coach, actually. I think when he actually gets his momentum rolling behind him, they'll be just fine. But you can't win with Grunkmeyer at quarterback. I'm sorry. I saw that young man. That's not a winner. Not in today's football. Not unless you got some dudes in the backfield, some guys that you're like.
They did at Penn State.
At least 2 of y'all are playing on Sunday. And how'd that work out still with Grunkmeyer back there?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? And you're not going to have Katron Allen and company toting that rock. So ultimately, I do think that this is a team that has a lot of potential to be that roller coaster ride. But I'll tell you what, when you look at a team that has great potential to be a roller coaster ride, I don't know why nobody's mentioning Clemson. There's a reason why they were supposed to be the team that was running the table last year. Clemson has still done a fantastic job of recruiting out of high school, and whether we want to admit it or not, player development has been very good under Clemson while Dabo's been there, and it hasn't fallen off a cliff these last few seasons. It's just they've fallen flat because you have not had the depth necessarily because you haven't used the portal. But even beyond that, last year, I'm still trying to figure out what went wrong with that team. I'm still trying to figure it out. They had relative health for most of the season. The wide receiver room was a little banged up. Yeah, Klubnik missed a game or two, but it still felt like you're supposed to be better than this. You're supposed to be all right here. So ultimately, I look at Clemson as a team that they're still uber talented. They've still got a ton of guys that you look at and say, hey, this guy could be special. You want to talk about somebody that's going to catch somebody off guard? Clemson's still Clemson to a degree.
Look, I'll admit, when I look at Miami's schedule and I see a road trip to Clemson, it concerns me. Like, I'm not looking at that like an auto win. I'm just not, despite the year that Clemson just had.
Exactly.
Exactly. Play, man.
Yeah.
Really tough.
And that's why I feel like Clemson will have the opportunity for multiple weeks where you never feel good about counting them out of a game, but there will also be times that just leave you like, now what the hell happened to the Tigers? What's going on? Because, I mean, if Veesaar was that good, I don't think he would have relinquished the spot back to Klubnik when he came back last year. I don't think there would have been a thought. It would have been, hey, that's the guy, leave him in. A lot like we saw with a certain quarterback who's now believed to be the number 1 quarterback in college football for some reason. He also wears orange. Anywho, of course. But there's a lot to be said there. So I think Virginia Tech is one of those teams, but also don't sleep on the Tigers as a team that could be up, down, all around town before the season's said and done.
What about like for boom or bust teams, Cal with JKS, but with a new head coach and a lot of new pieces, but we love the quarterback. But he true freshman season last year, he was very erratic, right? How much of that does he clean up in year 2 with a new coach and a lot of new teammates, right? I mean, Virginia had a Cinderella year. They've got Bo Pribula at quarterback this year. I don't exactly know what to expect from them. So there's a lot of teams like that in the ACC that are boom or bust.
Yeah, there absolutely is a lot. And even my NC State Wolfpack, I know that they're going to put up a ton of points. I know that offense is going to be electric. You're going to be looking up and thinking you're playing the track meet on grass a lot of games. But, I mean, it's hard to even say it's boom or bust because that's part of the Doran experience. You're going to pull off a big upset. You're going to win a game that you probably shouldn't. Last year was Georgia Tech when Georgia Tech was undefeated, coming in as this buzzsaw after you just got absolutely throttled by Notre Dame. Find a way to win that one. And then, you're going to have some games that leave you saying, now, how'd you lose that? Losing to a coachless Virginia Tech team that was not beaten. Virginia Tech was dominated by Old Dominion. Dominated. I mean, do you know how hard you have to get beat at Virginia Tech for fans to file out of Lane Stadium before the fourth quarter is over?
Yeah, it's not good.
And you lost to that team. So while NC State is a team that's always going to put up a ton of points and be exciting with CJ Bailey at the helm, it's the experience. It's going to be some great games where you're like, oh, this is great. We love Doran. And then there's going to be some games where you're like, how is this guy still here? You're going to make me lose my clean rate.
Let's throw Louisville in there because every year they shock somebody. Miami last year, but like Brom is going to have a game plan for somebody, and they're going to smoke somebody, and they're probably also going to lay an egg against somebody. They're not a whole lot different than Kenton's NC State squad. They're annoying in that regard.
They know.
And it's just that team is always iffy.
Dono knows that better than anybody based on the results of last year, how iffy Louisville can be from week to week.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, they had Jeff Brom had the game plan of his life against Miami, and then other games, it's like, did he only game plan for Miami?
He said, you know what? Every team's got a Ruben Bain, right? No, they don't? Yeah. Oh, I was not prepared for this fully. We'll go back to the drawing board and see what we can get done.
Yeah, well, all right. So when we come back, we'll take a look at who from the ACC is on the bubble basketball-wise for the NCAA tournament. And also, I got a question for Brian about how the new, 9 games in football, you can play 9 games and keep your red shirt, how that's going to affect things. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of the Locked On ACC Squad. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. It's a huge time saver, and it gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. We're also proudly brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and the only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. You know who I'm taking? This might be controversial, but with the number 1 pick in the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft, I'm going with berry. Tried and true. I've been drinking berry for years. Big, bold flavor, slightly sweet with a very fruity aroma. Classic mixed berry flavor with notes of raspberry and blackberry. And I'll tell you who my sleeper is, folks. If you're looking for a team that can squeak into that second round or maybe sneak into the first round as well, I absolutely, my friends, I love strawberry banana, a tropical delight with strawberry, a taste that goes in everything from smoothies and milkshakes to cakes and ice cream. It's simply delicious. So you want to check this out, folks. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack, talking all things NC State. Brian Smith talks all things Seminoles on Locked On Seminoles. He also hosts the Portal Pod. I'm Alex Dono. I host Locked On Canes. All right, so guys, Kenton, thank you for allowing Miami that 8-0 run in the final 52 seconds on Saturday, because the Hurricanes are, at least for now, off of the bubble. Miami is firmly on ESPN bracketology, a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. Before the win over NC State, they were on that bubble. They are off of it. And NC State, Kenton, is also still in. They're not a bubble team either. So we made out all right. Florida State, meanwhile, they're just trying to play spoiler for the rest of the year in hoops.
You know what they say, if you can't get invited to the dance, the next best thing you can do is put a little substance in the punch bowl. We're not going to say it on air because that'll strip our clean rating. But in all seriousness, the ACC is in great shape in terms of getting in that, 7 was the under over on how many teams we get in. And I felt great about that all season, but Miami solidly locked themselves in with that win over NC State. You get yourself another quad 1 win on the road. And I mean, in magnificent fashion. Yes, NC State forcibly handed them that game. I guess Will Wade asked Jay Lucas before the game, will you be my Valentine? Because I'm going to make sure that I make all your dreams come true this afternoon. But in all seriousness, heck of a win by Miami. Now, SMU, get it together, okay?
Yeah.
That they're falling and fast.
Yeah,
maybe
I think
we
they're
got
falling out of the bubble now.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we got to get Grayson Singleton on this thing to figure out what's going on down there in Dallas. But they're playing some really bad ball lately when they had some work to do if they were going to get in. There are obviously some teams that we know, obviously the Dukes of the world, the Louisvilles of the world, the UNC, all that. We know NC State. That's a lock. We know it. That's not a surprise. Nobody's shocked to see those teams in. But some of these teams that are on the outside looking in, Miami's doing their job. Yeah. Ponies, you got some work to do.
Yeah, so the Ponies they're obviously, like you said, they're dropping, but Joe Lunardi still does have them in as a 10 seed, but they're trying to drop out of it altogether. The two ACC teams that are considered to be on the bubble, Cal is among the first 4 out, and then the next 4 out, which is worse than first 4 out, contains Virginia Tech. So there are a couple of ACC teams on the bubble. But I wanted to go back to football and ask Brian Smith. So I think this is still pending final NCAA approval. But the chatter now is this has been a recommendation, which they expect this to pass, that players in college football, normally they can play in up to 5 games and preserve their red shirt. They're trying to bump that up to 9, which is, like 3/4 of a regular season, 9 games you can appear in while keeping your red shirt. Now, I guess that's a nice thing for the kids, for the freshmen, right? But for roster management, that means you're going to have so many more guys playing 5 years or hell, 6 or 7, 8 years. I don't know how it works anymore. It's going to make it a lot harder to manage your rosters when you've got freshmen coming in, Brian.
I've been looking forward to the 2026 season for a long time. You know why? Because it was the end of all the COVID guys.
Yes, that's right.
If they bring this crap in, it's like COVID for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't need that in my life, Alex. I want it, if you want to just give guys 5 for 5, I think they're testing the waters to go to that. That's the other rumor.
Yeah.
Do it. Don't go halfway. A or B. Yeah. Let's pick a number. Let's be steadfast, not, well, he played in 10. He's not a red shirt. That just sounds dumb. Yeah. You got to get to 10 games not to be a red shirt.
That's crazy.
Come on, man. What's the point of it? Like, does anybody give a number? Like, oh, well, we picked 9.
I don't know how they got. Like, how do you go from 5 to 9? Like, there's been so many arguments over a 6. Like, how do you not go from 5 to 6? Like, how do you go all the way up to 9? I don't understand.
And here's the thing. People aren't even considering how many injuries happen throughout a season. You could naturally have a bunch of. Y'all thought McCormick was bad? When you take the number up to 9. Everybody who gets hurt at some point in time during the season is going to be, oh, that year was a medical redshirt year. What are we doing? I was hurt.
Right.
You got hurt in game 8 3/4. Still got hurt. Still got hurt before the 9.
I mean, 90% of your players will redshirt as freshmen. Outside of that, outside of like the Malachi Tonys of the world, everybody redshirts.
Yeah.
That's going to make roster management for the back office. Like which kids are going to, even if you're eligible for it, do they come back? There's more transfers. That's just more red tape. Now it's more stuff for us to talk about. That's the only bonus I see here. In the offseason, I need all I can get. But otherwise, this is very odd to me. And not that the NCAA ever makes sense. They're consistent there, but I don't understand it. And just go 5 for 5. If that's what you want to do, just that way you don't have to count. We know when he enters in a certain year, he's going to be there for 5 years. And he's done.
Well, I'm guessing the top NCAA lawyer probably said, what's the magic number that gets us less likely to be sued? Because from my count, the NCAA only has 1 victory in court ever, and that was over Charles Bediako. They've not won a single other case in court outside of that one ruling where he couldn't come back to college. Well, he did, but then, the NCAA ruled him ineligible. I don't think they've ever won another case. So if 9 gives them the least chance of getting sued, that's probably how they settled on that number.
Again, NCAA, I'm begging you, sit down with the conferences, sit down with the players, and collectively bargain. Right now, you're going to keep seeing foolishness. You're going to keep seeing, oh, the NCAA denied me. Let me file an appeal. Oh, the appeal got denied. Let me file some other type of waiver. Oh, that waiver got denied. Let me go to the state court where, guess what? There's only but so many schools per state that have law schools. So what do you think is going to happen when you see, oh, well, wait, he's taking it to the state level in the state of North Carolina? What university do you think he went to? The judges. What do you think? What university do you think they went to, right? You got Campbell Law, you got UNC Law, you got NCCU Law. They're probably going to have grown-up fans of one of the schools that the player that's suing is from. Yeah. So ultimately, we need to get in front of this thing. NCAA, you got your tail whooped so bad, and we're in the Wild Wild West now because you're being reactive. Can you try to be proactive about this? Well, I'm begging you, NCAA, please, because right now you're living up to the name, no clue at all.
Well, I think your begs are going to fall on deaf ears because they don't seem to listen to common sense. Huge thank you and shout out to all the everydayers. Remember to join the Everydayer Club if you want to make your status official. You can join the Everydayer Club for Locked On Seminoles, Locked On Wolfpack, Locked On Canes, all your favorite shows. Get exclusive content and perks. And we'll talk to everybody next time on another episode of the Locked On ACC Squad. We're part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.